The real, I think, issue that I take with Wuthering Heights, in summary, would go like this. Like, I'm a Game of Thrones fan, and so this idea that this book, not even, no, I don't mean Game of Thrones, I mean A Song of Ice and Fire, sorry. Confusion on my part, it's been a while, but the first book in the series is titled, A Song of Ice and, well, it's titled Game of Thrones, but yeah, the, I can't sit here and pretend, as neck deep in the series up to the end of A Dance with Dragons, as I am, that I don't love hating on certain characters, that it's not an enjoyable thing for me and everything. I mean, I hate Cersei Lannister. I hate that the Lannisters are in charge of King's Landing. I pretty much agree with the direction that Tyrion is going, and that he seems and appears to be heading towards, Daenerys. And anyways, um, yeah, I really very much so find myself in a state of, just longing for that, and but it hasn't really been written yet in the books, like a lot of the plot lore where they, yeah, imagined, we don't know yet, in the books. And the thing is that, um, my my frustration really with Wuthering Heights is that, what got me to buy in with Game of Thrones at the very least was that there was at least a great enough proportion of the characters on the cast that I liked and everything to get me to buy in the first place. And yet, with respect to Wuthering Heights, I hate almost it. I hate pretty much everybody in it. I can think of only a few, maybe potentially narrow exemptions, like maybe Isabella, but for the most part, I hate everybody in this series, and I just want to watch terrible, awful things happen to them. And the thing about that is that I'm not the kind of person who hate watches or who picks up a novel in order to revel in the awfulness and vile things that happen to a bunch of vile characters that I want to see terrible things happen to. It's not. I guess when I pick up a book, I wouldn't do it. If I were going to do something like that, I would probably refer to a television show to do it, rather than literary fiction to do it, because it's just more fun when you see it on video and tape than when you see that when you have to read about a bunch of terrible fucks who do terrible things to each other. Like, that's just it doesn't strike me as quite as enjoyable. But the thing about Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire is that it has plenty of terrible characters who all torment and do terrible things to each other. Like, and I can't pretend that I can't sit here and pretend in that context I'm not totally activated and totally into it. But by the same measure, I think that the principle that Wuthering Heights really violates for me is that I feel like I need to like at least a high enough proportion of my characters for me to buy in. And yet, unfortunately, I want terrible things to happen to pretty much the entire cast of Wuthering Heights. It's like maybe you've got, if you've got 100 characters, one or two of them are going to be redeemable in any way. That's not enough from Wuthering Heights. It's basically like 90, it's like 80% or higher of the people who of the cast that I just hate outright and want to see terrible things happen to. And that kind of concentration is just not acceptable to me. I will freely admit that I've gotten most of my perspective on the book from its haters because I haven't read it, because, it's been spoiled for me, much of what happens, and it just doesn't strike me as my cup of tea, Seeing it, I'm not really interested in it, seeing what's been said about it and what everybody and the word on the street is about the books and everything, and the negative press on the other side of things that isn't, gushing about how great it is. The hype, I gotta say, what I've been observing of the hype, yeah, it just doesn't sound like it would be something that I would want to read, It just, yeah, no, I'm leaning pretty hard towards no on that one. And, how is it that I know about almost all the characters on it? Well, you know what? I've read up pretty heavily on it. I feel like I've kind of had to, because I've been motivated, to understand it at least enough to know why it is that I don't want to read it and don't want to go through this experience, I really don't. like I said, I hate most of the characters, and so that kind of strikes me as a bridge too far, and that despite being somebody that does have that space within me that gets it, that loves watching bad people make terrible decisions and watch bad things happen to them. I mean, God, you know, I'm practically cheerleading for the fact that I really do want to see the Winds of Winter come out, and I love that Kevin got killed by Varys and everything just to stir up chaos and unleash Cersei to do to mismanage things and everything and to make massive mistakes in the series. It's gonna be fun if it ever does come out to watch her self destruction, an implosion. That's gonna be enjoyable, and I'm going to love it. But the thing, like I said, I need to like at least enough of my characters to make me invest in this world, and unfortunately, Wuthering Heights just doesn't have enough of a cast. I mean, I think what kind of kills it for me is that there's no comeuppance for anybody in such a situation like that. Nobody that I like is actually coming out on top or vindicated. In the end, they're not getting their revenge. It's just a bunch of terrible people who deserve terrible things happening to them getting revenge that they don't deserve. And I just can't with that. It's just too much. It's the concentration of terrible, unlikable characters is too high for me to buy in on this one.